Some truths make you sick before you can even speak them. I woke up this morning with no voice. My throat was on fire. But when I looked at my screen, the physical pain became irrelevant. Because the leader of a nation on Easter Sunday morning hadn't lost a country, hadn't lost a war, he had lost his mind. And he announced it to the entire world. Donald Trump posted this on Truth Social. Tuesday will be the day of power plants and bridges in Iran, all wrapped up in one. And nothing like it has ever been seen before. Open the strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. Hold on a second. The President of the United States declared war on civilian infrastructure through a late-night social media post. Power plants, bridges, done. He sealed a war crime announcement with praise be to Allah. This isn't strategy. This isn't even a brainstorm. This is the documented mental collapse of a man sitting next to the nuclear button. Destroying a system from the outside is hard. Destroying it from within is the most effective weapon in history. Marjorie Taylor Greene was Trump's most loyal guardian. The voice of MAGA, the loudest presence in Congress, the shield that defended Trump's every move. This woman on Easter Sunday morning said this: "The president is not a Christian. Everyone in his administration needs to fall on their knees and beg God for forgiveness. He has gone completely insane." This was not a statement of opposition. This was a political excommunication. Greene's words were not chosen randomly. The phrase "not a Christian" is a coded message sent directly to Trump's voter base. At the foundation of the MAGA movement lies faith, the narrative of God's chosen man. Supporting Trump had been presented to millions not as a political preference but as a religious obligation. Greene targeted precisely that foundation. She condemned Trump not merely as a failed politician, but as a false prophet standing before the altar of his own followers. And this is a green light sent directly to the cabinet. In the last 48 hours alone, more than 20 senior officials have quietly walked out of the cabinet. No statements, no press conferences. They simply left. When a ship begins to sink, the rats are always first to flee. But the ones fleeing this time are not rats. These are the very people who put that captain at the helm. So the question that demands an answer is this: why did Greene speak up now? There are no coincidences in politics. Easter Sunday was chosen deliberately, the single day when Trump's most vulnerable constituency is most emotionally exposed. The message is both symbolic and surgical. Greene is not an anti-war activist. Greene is not a moralist. Greene is someone calculating the most profitable exit point from a sinking vessel. And her math is brutally simple. Leaving before Trump goes down is better than going down with him. So what will the cabinet do? The 25th Amendment was written in 1967, but it has never felt this close. Did you hear Senator Chris Murphy's statement? "If I were in the cabinet, I would spend all of Easter calling constitutional lawyers." This is not a metaphor. This is a public call to action. Murphy is speaking directly to the cabinet, but the cabinet is pretending not to hear. Why? Because pulling the trigger on the 25th Amendment means more than removing a president. It means putting the entire system on trial, and the people who built that system are currently sitting inside it. Anthony Scaramucci, Trump's former communications director, used the word madman. Joe Walsh, former Republican congressman, used the same word. These are not opposition figures. These are people who supported an earlier version of Trump, who spoke for him, who fought for him. So what changed? The answer is Tuesday. Tuesday night at 8 p.m., the hour Trump declared. The moment Iran's power plants and bridges would be reduced to rubble. This started as a threat, but threats have a defining characteristic. They eventually become reality. Or they don't, and they consume the person who made them. Either way, the damage is unavoidable. The lives of 330 million Americans, 5,500 nuclear warheads, and a brain capable of issuing a war order because of a midnight social media rage. When you sit with that thought, the 25th Amendment stops being dry legal language on a page. It becomes a survival reflex, but the cabinet did not act. And that silence is more dangerous than any approval. Now I'm getting to the real question, and asking it makes me uncomfortable. But I have no choice. Why do the most powerful names in this country start trembling the moment Israel is mentioned? The mainstream press whispers this question. I'm asking it out loud right here. Is the Epstein network directing the foreign policy of this nation? Jeffrey Epstein's files contain the most powerful names in modern history. Politicians, business leaders, media figures. Those names were never fully released. Some leaked in fragments, but the complete record remains sealed. And that seal is not an accident. Now consider this. Why does a president appear so determined to push toward a war that so clearly contradicts his own country's economic interests? Oil prices will surge. The American middle class will be crushed. Young Americans will lose their lives in the Strait of Hormuz. Knowing all of this, why the insistence? The answer does not live inside a rational foreign policy calculation. The answer is buried where it cannot be spoken. The Epstein class holds information capable of ending careers instantly. That information can hold an entire nation's dignity hostage. And if that hostage scenario is actively running, Trump's posture toward Iran is no longer a strategy. It is a payment schedule. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the logical framework for a behavior that cannot otherwise be explained. When the numbers don't add up, you don't close the book. You turn to a different page. Trump once said this: "We don't need the Strait of Hormuz. America has achieved energy independence." That was the most expensive lie of the decade. Look at this number. 21 million barrels of crude oil per day must squeeze through this narrow 54-kilometer channel. That is 21% of global crude oil consumption, one passage, one choke point. And Trump, on Easter Sunday morning, made a war announcement targeting that very choke point. If the bombs had dropped Tuesday night at 8 p.m., what would you have woken up to Wednesday morning? Oil prices wouldn't rise. They would explode. Economists are projecting prices between $150 and $200 per barrel. That means gasoline prices in the U.S. skyrocketing to $7 or $10 per gallon. I'm saying these numbers for the people working 2 jobs, for the people counting every penny at the grocery store. When transportation costs surge by 300%, where does the price of bread and milk on your children's dinner table go? The data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration is unambiguous. Even a single week of disruption to the Strait of Hormuz sends the global supply chain into cardiac arrest. 1 week, 7 days. And Trump announced this via social media. But here's the question that needs to be asked. Does Trump not know oil prices will rise? He knows. So then why? The answer lives in the previous section. In Silicon Valley, when defense contracts calculate billions in revenue streams, rising oil prices are not a catastrophe. They are a windfall. Elon Musk's SpaceX and XAI have signed tens of billions of dollars in military AI and satellite contracts with the Pentagon. Larry Ellison is moving along the same trajectory. For these men, peace is a net loss. A full-scale war with Iran pushes the defense budget to $1.5 trillion. A trillion-dollar figure. While they sit in their billion-dollar bunkers watching profit graphs climb across their screens, 19 and 20-year-old American soldiers come face-to-face with missiles in the Strait of Hormuz. Can we call this leadership? $400 billion. Let's say that number one more time. $400 billion. This is not the annual defense budget of a mid-sized nation. This is the amount Donald Trump is prepared to burn in a single Tuesday night to flatten Iran. With this money, the student debt of 10 million Americans could be wiped clean. 6.6 million teachers could receive $60,000 salaries. Dozens of hospitals could be built. Rural American infrastructure could be rebuilt from the ground up. But this money is sitting in the ledger as the bill for a midnight social media rage. And you will be the one paying that bill. With your taxes, with gas prices, with grocery store price tags, with your health insurance premiums, with the quality of your children's education. The Wall Street Journal makes it plain. Silicon Valley elites are reshaping the White House to seize absolute control over defense policy. These people do not need a president with a conscience. What they need is a conflict instigator to feed their trillion-dollar war machine. And the fuel feeding that machine is your tax dollars. This is an honest accounting. It hurts, but it's the truth. As the clock moved toward Tuesday night at 8 p.m., another race was underway in Washington, invisible, silent, but perhaps the most consequential race in modern history. The 25th Amendment is no longer a theoretical debate. Constitutional lawyers are being called in the corridors of the cabinet. Phones are buzzing, files are stacking up on desks, and everyone is asking the same question. Can we stop this? We can. But do we have the courage? The Duty to Warn group, composed of mental health professionals, issued a clear assessment. Trump's posts are no longer the language of a politician. These are the screams of a brain that has lost its function. Scheduling war crimes for precisely 8 p.m. is irrefutable evidence of an urgent national security threat. But the cabinet did not move. Why? Because removing Trump carries a cost. And that cost is not only political. Every name in that cabinet knows this. If they act and fail, their career ends. If they don't act and the war begins, history records them as accomplices. This is not the awakening of a conscience. This is the survival calculation of people who have been backed into a corner. At this point in the night, I want to ask you one question. If your leader ordered your neighbor's house burned down at midnight, would you hand him more gasoline? Or would you call a doctor? The 25th Amendment exists precisely for this moment, for the moment when a president's humanity has been consumed by cognitive decline and pressure from the elite. We have walked through the shadow of the Epstein pressure. We have examined the trillion-dollar military AI contracts. We have seen how the Strait of Hormuz tightens its grip around the throat of American families. But the heart of this story is not Trump. It is not Green. It is not the 25th Amendment. The heart of this story is you. Can you accept this? The $400 billion of your tax money that should have gone to your children's classrooms, to a healthcare system that doesn't drive people into bankruptcy, is being allocated for war crimes scheduled for Tuesday night at 8 p.m. This is not a foreign policy miscalculation. This is the systematic theft of a future, hidden behind the mask of national security. America is standing at a crossroads. On one side, the Constitution, stability, the dignity of a great power. On the other side, the abyss of a mad empire where nuclear codes rest in the hands of a man consumed by cognitive decline and bound to the dark levers of Silicon Valley oligarchs. Elon Musk will never have to pay $10 a gallon for gasoline. Larry Ellison will never send his child to the Strait of Hormuz. They are playing a game where your life and your wallet are the pawns. Not one more American life should be sacrificed for the special interest groups at Mar-a-Lago. Not one more dollar should go towards senseless wars. The 25th Amendment is not only for the cabinet, it is a wake-up call for every single citizen. Leaders do not push us toward the abyss. Leaders protect us from it. My voice may be trembling, but my will is not. If our world is still standing Tuesday night, I'll see you then. This is not a news report. This is a truth that needed to be said, and saying it required courage.